Hello everyone and welcome to the first episode of Movie Man Cave. I'm Julian Morgan.
Movie Man Cave, yeah!
I'm Julian Morgan and this is my colorful and sometimes eccentric co-host, Stephen Billings.
Thanks, Julian. Thank you for introducing me so warmly.
Oh, it's no problem.
Yeah,
I'm a warm person.
You are a very warm person. Your hair is orange. To get right down to it, this show, the birth of this show is just through the fact that we both just are in love with movies.
Love movies.
Sci-fi,
horror, romance,
you know.
Tarantino. Michael Bay.
Yeah. The idea of this show is to really just cover the whole spectrum.
Posters.
You know, foreign films.
Reviews, old and new.
You know, and the segment I'm really excited about.
Oh, yeah.
It's called Movie Mealtime, and our cameraman Adam's actually the chef.
Say hello, Adam.
Hello.
He's a Ukrainian shovel fighter.
He used to be, and he's very good with a handle. But the first segment we're going to get right into.
Our main segment.
It's called Movies on Our Mind.
Movies. The whole day through.
So, Movies on Our Mind is basically the main segment of the show. It it covers all the reviews, and anytime we have lists, like we will have today.
We thought that it would be a great way to introduce ourselves, is to give you guys like sort of a feeling of our personal taste. Because today we're going to be listing 5 of our favorite movies.
And you know what?
We don't give a shit what you think. Let our lists.
Speak for yourself, Stephen.
Our voice is God.
Well, I care. Well, Stephen's a little preoccupied at this moment, so I think I'll start off with my 5 favorites. Number 5 is my favorite Stanley Kubrick movie, his 1968 sci-fi masterpiece of 2001: A Space Odyssey. I've always been a huge science fiction fan my entire life. The earliest one that I was exposed to was Star Wars. 2001: A Space Odyssey was the first science fiction picture that I saw that wasn't just like meant for like just pure entertainment. It's entertaining to me, at least. It was the first one that really started delving into deeper issues, and I remember when I saw 2001: A Space Odyssey, I was younger. Of course I didn't understand it, but I had one thing that kept me coming back to it, which is people that have at least seen it once always remember like its great visual imagery and stuff like that. And that's one of the highlights of the movie, is that Stanley Kubrick has always been just such a great visual artist after his background with still photography. Probably in all of film, probably the most unique approach to extraterrestrial life. Number 4 spot goes to 1966, the Italian film The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly by Sergio Leone. Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is my favorite Western of all time, and I was torn between putting Good, the Bad, and the Ugly or Once Upon a Time in America in the number 4 spot. Both of them were directed by Sergio Leone. The reason I love Good, the Bad, and the Ugly so much is, first off, Sergio Leone's directing is just top-notch. He always gives everything this very operatic, very epic look, and Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is one of the purest examples of what an epic is. What I like about it so much is that it tries to stray away from the realistic aspects of what a Western would be, and it's so romantically just beautiful on what it is. After Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, we'll move down to a number 3 spot. It's the most modern film on the list. From 2003, it is The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. Everyone knows Lord of the Rings. People that don't remember anything from Lord of the Rings at least remembers its length. I've always loved fantasy, escapism, heroes, and Lord of the Rings archetypes that it portrays are just the most classic portrayals of good versus evil, with Sauron and Frodo. And I think if I had to make a list of my favorite film scores, Howard Shore's theme for The Lord of the Rings would probably be at my number 1 spot. It's big, it's amazing, it gets me teary-eyed at the end of the movies every time. My number 2 spot, probably my favorite foreign film of all time, from 1954, it's Akira Kurosawa's samurai masterpiece, Seven Samurai. I've always adhered more to Asian cultures, a little more than European cultures. And in particular, the ways of like the samurai, with my background in martial arts, It deals with a lot of the themes that I like from things like Lord of the Rings, which is where eventually the weak will basically inherit the earth. I kept hearing everything about it whenever I was growing up, and so whenever I finally got a chance to watch it, I finally got to understand what made this film so influential. Its themes of honor, death, sacrifice, helping those in need. But that's why I love Seven Samurai so much. And my number one spot goes back to 1933, the oldest film on my list, directed by Merian C. Cooper and Ernest B. Schoedsack, the original King Kong. King Kong is my favorite film of all time. No other film up until that point had inanimate character, because Kong was just a puppet animated by Willis O'Brien, be like a character in a movie. And because of Willis O'Brien's artful masterwork with Kong, he was able to transform this otherwise like almost a foot-long puppet into like this 25-foot ape and give him feelings. People hated him at the at sometimes. People loved him sometimes whenever he like broke the Tyrannosaurus's jaw, and people wanted to cry at times, like whenever he was shot down off the Empire State Building, of course. So, yeah, King Kong, 1933, my all-time favorite movie. And those are my faves.
And now, a message from our sponsor.
Give me the money! Come on! Give me the money now! Open the register! Come on, do it! Hurry up, I ain't got all day! Oh God, my face! Oh God, my...
Stellograviton, put it in your mouth!
Hello. How are you? Good. Now I'm going to delve into my top 5 faves. Number 5 pick is probably the least known film on my list, and that's 2006's Children of Men. If you're a movie man like me, and you're really into that visual aspect of the film, then this is a movie that you really need to see. From its art direction, its cinematography, it's just so immersive. Also, the actors in this film do a really good job of making you feel their despair and feel the tragedy of this world that they're living in. My number 4 pick is probably what I consider to be one of the greatest character study films, and that's Martin Scorsese's 1976 film, Taxi Driver. If you're a fan of Robert De Niro or even Martin Scorsese, and you have not seen this movie, you should probably go ahead and take the time right now and punch your own self in the face. De Niro's so electric in this film. He plays this man named Travis Binkle, who is just lonely and depressed and is just really trying to find his place in this world. He spends his time driving a cab in the middle of the night and just sees kind of the underworld of New York, and it really has an effect on him. This movie does a really good job of kind of dissecting the mind of a person that's really on the brink of insanity. My number 3 pick is you know what? I'm just gonna do this. Yes, of course, my number 3 pick is Jaws, if you did not understand that reference. You probably cannot think of one animal attack film that's as good as that movie. There really isn't. I mean, Piranha 3 Double D? No. I don't think so. Anaconda? No. And one big reason I like to look back on this film is to remind myself of how good Steven Spielberg was, even at an early stage of his career and his life. This film also features one of the most ingenious yet simplistic scores composed by John Williams. All he needed was 2 notes, and he turned the shark into a villain that we can remember. And since Jaws, John Williams has been doing basically every Spielberg movie since. And now my number 2 pick, which probably when you hear what my number 2 pick is, you'll probably be like,
huh? Why that movie?
Well, I'm going to tell you. 2 factors came into play. One was the rewatchability factor, which should be a given. The second factor was that it had to create emotional reaction. I have to be emotionally invested in the film. And that was what was key when I chose this movie. And that's 2000's Almost Famous. Almost Famous is, it's a coming-of-age story, it's a romance, and it's also kind of a musical tribute. I, myself, am a musician, and I really connected with the themes that Cameron Crowe, the director, strung throughout the film, which was kind of how music has healing power.
And that when we are honest with ourselves and with others, we find out a lot about each other.
This movie is actually part autobiographical to Cameron Crowe's early life. He was a Rolling Stones rock journalist when he was about 15, 16 years old, and a lot of the things that happened in this film really actually came from his real life. Now to my number one pick. What? Which is probably the film I've seen the most times out of any movie I've ever seen, probably even more than Toy Story, which is probably not true because Toy Story I probably watched like 100 times when I was a kid. So. But that number one movie is 1997's LA Confidential. I figured out over time that film noir is probably my favorite genre of all time. It covers, romance, drama, action, everything under the sun. And really, this movie does a good job of capturing film noir, but also kind of giving a kind of modern version of film noir. And this movie also has one of the best ensemble casts I've ever seen, which includes Russell Crowe, Guy Pearce, Kevin Spacey, Danny DeVito, John Cromwell. It really, and they work well together, because a lot of times you have a bunch of great actors in one movie and it just doesn't work out because you got one that's kind of overshadowing the other, and but this one really has a good balance, and all the actors really know that this is a great film, and everybody needs to kind of do their own part to make it really good. So yeah, LA Confidential is my favorite movie of all time. You should check it out. Kevin Spacey is probably the best lead in that movie, other than Jim Cromwell, who steals the show about halfway through the movie, but I will let you watch that. We've made it to the end. It's sad. It was good for me. Was it good for you, Jill?
It was fantastic.
Was it good for you? I hope so. If it was, subscribe, please.
And we'll see you on the next episode of Movie Man Cave.
Can interrupt me. Take two. Was it good for you? I hope so. And if it was, please subscribe, like, share with friends, comment, and maybe we'll talk about some of the comments on the show.
And join us next week whenever we talk about the top 5 films that we hate on the next Movie Man Cave.